All right, SPY update here. So we didn't really make that much headway on the CPI. We only up 0.53%, still below 560. Again, the point you want to look at, and this is why the next 2 days are super important. What you want to be looking at is the weekly 50-day moving average. Why is that important? That is important because if we break below that and finish the week below that, we don't have any support. That's the main point of this. We have the 200 down here. We have the 100 at like 555, I think. No, the 100's at 510. There isn't really any support down here. The only support that I could see is just drawing like random parallel lines here. There's some support here at 543. If you want to look at this like that, I don't really like using these very much because it's just some random line that you put out there on your chart. There's no significance to this at all. But go down to 543 and tap this line and went higher. Okay, whatever. But 563 is actually real support because we've been watching the 50 weekly hold this entire bull market. So now that we're below it, that would be a big warning sign. If we go into the week below 563, that should be a warning sign to you that there is a very real possibility that we topped out already. And so I'm watching that into the week. I want to see us get to like 570 tomorrow. I want to see some kind of pop on the PPI data. If we sell off tomorrow on PPI data, then that's not good because there's not going to be a catalyst that's going to bring us back above 563. So let's go ahead and zoom in here and just go over the chart now. I do see two paths potentially lower too. That's the thing. So the first one is a 5-wave move, which is likely what this is, but I have two different counts. That would be right here, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. This is the 1.61 fib. This would be the second wave right here. So 1, 2, 3, ABC 4. And then this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you look at this on smaller time frames, this is not really how you want to see it finish either. We got an impulse right here, but it comes after we hit this 1.61 fib of the third wave. And that was the high. And then we came back down lower. We bounced here. So what I really want to see for it to be bullish is this. I want to see something like this back up here and fill this gap at 570. But basically just hold the 50 on the weekly. As long as we can get above 563, that's pretty bullish going into the weekend in my opinion. But there's always a possibility of this 5-wave move playing out down here to 545 to 550. If it's WXY, and I wouldn't even necessarily focus that much on the waves right now. I would just be focusing on the moving averages. Because again, we don't have support below the 50 on the weekly. The second count is A, B, C, W, A, B, C, X, A, B, C, Y. This hits the 1.61 fib. We bounce again. And then this would be A, B, C, lower again. Probably down here to 546 to 547. Those are both bearish counts because I see this as a corrective move. But I want this to invalidate all those moves. Where could it invalidate those moves? I think if it gets above, for the 5-wave move, if it went all the way up here to 573 in a very impulsive move like this, then I would say we're likely bottomed out right here at 552. And I would say it's less likely that we're going to see that C wave down. Still could, but it would just be less likely because we'd be above the 50 on the weekly again. So those are the two two down moves that I see are possible tomorrow on PPI. And then I see above 572 as pretty bullish overall. But again, the main point of this video is, are we above the 50 on the weekly by the end of Friday? It doesn't matter right now. It just matters at the end of Friday. Where is the weekly close at? So that's SPY. Again, I'm still bullish right now, but if it did fall below and finish below the 50 on the weekly, then I would probably be hedging pretty hard going into the end of the week and getting some cash ready. And then just waiting for confirmation. So right now we're in a hole. Let's see what happens tomorrow with PPI. QQQ is a little bit more bearish than SPY is, only because it needs to reclaim 484. So it needs to go up about 1.5%, reclaim the 50 on the weekly. This all happened this week, I think. Let me double check. Yeah, we were above it the start of the week. This all happened this week. We need to reclaim 484 on QQQ, or it's going to be the same situation with SPY. And I would imagine that they're pretty much in the exact same spot. They need to go up like 1.5 to 2%. So if I had to guess, if I were to put my money on something, I would say that it's going to be bullish the next couple of days. We can look at option flow. And when I looked at it last, it looked pretty mixed. It didn't look like anything decisive. So they're selling calls, they're buying calls. That's nice to see at least. Let's do above the ask. So you had some early in the day, you had a lot of puts. But then you had calls in the day. Puts definitely outnumber the calls. Let's do below the bid. And that's nice to see. They're selling tons of puts for 417. That is what you want to see. It's good that they're not selling calls. At least they sold one call, but 610 for 620.25. So overall, I think the option flow is leaning bullish overall, and at or above the ask. Do have some puts. So mixed, but I would say leaning bullish. QQQ, on the other hand, I don't like to see that. So we have a 540 put, 10.63 million. They bought at the ask. That means they bought it. It's deep in the money though, so I'm guessing they did that just because if they're wrong, they're not going to lose theta. So, well, they won't lose it as much in the money. Besides that, this does look overly bearish to me, I would say, with that 11 million there, and you have like 3.44 million. It does look pretty bearish, actually. So QQQ looks pretty bearish. SPY looks pretty neutral. We could be looking at a sell-off tomorrow. Maybe they're going to take this down here below the 50 on the weekly to get everybody bearish. And then there's going to be some news that comes out and it shoots it back up. But us as traders, we can't only look at the chart and go from the information we have. And so if that were to happen, I'm still going to be hedging, and I'll have to like adjust if we get some kind of news that's going to take it back above the 50 on the weekly. That's all we can do. We can't predict 100%. We can just go by the chart. So overall, the bullish sentiment or the bullish flow is not really there on QQQ or SPY, but more so on SPY, if I had to guess, would be bullish. Tesla's right where I want it to be. I said in the last video, I want to see this bounce and get above the 200 on the weekly. And look where it finished today, above I know it's slightly below the 200 on the weekly, but after hours it is up. I want to see it finish above 250. Another reason why I'm leaning bullish. If this were to fall below there, that would be very bearish. We've already filled all the gaps. There's no reason for this to go down again. So that's nice to see. Can it get above 250 by the end of the week? That's all I care about right now. And then on QQQ and SPY, 50 on the weekly. Remember that? But I would say overall, this to me still looks like a 5-way move. And so I expect a bounce and maybe one more move down later. We'll take it day by day. Let's look at the flow on Tesla. So look at all that bullish flow right there. You got tons of calls. You do have puts as well. But if you notice, all the puts are in the money. Except for that one right there. But most of them are in the money. All the calls are mostly out of the money. A few in the money, I guess. But overall, very bullish flow. You can see over here, bullish flow. NVIDIA had bullish flow as well. So Tesla looks good to me. Even if it does go down, there's no reason to be selling cover calls or buying puts here. Let the move play out. There is a gap at 234. This gap has been filled. And then there's a gap at 258. So gap here at 234, gap at 258, and a gap at 274. So if it does come down here tomorrow, it's not going to sell off that much. This would be like a 5 or 6% sell off. So if the market does sell off tomorrow, I think this probably fills the gap. If we get that bullish move, I say we fill the gap up here to 258 minimum, maybe even all the way up here to 275. Remember, we're in the 2-month demand zone. And so it makes sense that this is never going to go below 206 before it gets out of here. 273 should be coming before we see any lower lows, if we see any lower lows at all. But I'm leaning towards a retrace now that we 95% bottomed. I'm looking for a retrace minimum to the 0.5 fib, which is sitting up here at 353. All the way potentially up here to 430. So anywhere in this range right here, and I would expect that to happen probably over the next 3 months. So I'm guessing into the event that's in June. So we get that event in June, retrace into it, whatever it's over here, and then maybe sell off afterwards down here. Or this is the bottom. It has retraced a lot. It just seems to me that this is an A wave. This looks like an impulse to me. It went so far down, it almost has to be an impulse, which means it has to be an A wave. It can't be an ABC move. So I would lean towards retrace and then another move down. And then from there, I'm on the regular chart. That's why it looks weird. From there, we can finally go up. So Tesla looks very bullish from here, looking for 350 to 430, probably by June. That's pretty much it for this video. I'm just going to go over QQQ and SPY, Tesla, 3 main ones I'm really watching. I want to see all of them. I want to see Tesla finish the week above 250, the weekly 200. I want to see SPY above 563, and I want to see QQQ above 484 by the end of the week. If that doesn't happen, then we got to be cautious going into the weekend. So that's it for this video. Leave me a comment, like, subscribe for more updates, and I'll catch you in the next one.